Doing another live on the way home this time. What's going on? All right. So you see the question. The question is, should I look for a wife in the black church? Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I'm gonna see if I can answer that for you all, and I may bring in some tips and suggestions. Now, there was once a time when that question would have been a resounding yes. Absolutely. Where else are you going to find a wife, right? That was in the 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, right? That was the accepted practice, that you found your wife, found your bride in the black church. Right? As a black man, that's where you would find your wife. But fast forward to 2025. So let's say 1925, it was a resounding yes. 2025, it's almost, I would say, almost 95%. That's a random statistic. It's a resounding no. I would not suggest any black man to search for his wife in the black church. Now, am I saying that Christian black men shouldn't date Christian black women or court Christian black women? Because I don't even like the term dating, because it's a modern term that can be defined by the user, right? It's user defined, right? Courting is a specific term that has a well-defined meaning that you're headed towards marriage. But I do believe that black Christians should date one another, date or court one another. See, it's so ubiquitous that I'm just using it, even though I don't agree with the term dating. But I don't think you're going to find a follower of Jesus in the majority of black churches. That's just my educated opinion, having grown up in majority black churches, having seen what the black church has to offer, and the statistics on single motherhood, on body count, on theological knowledge coming out of the black church. I don't think that you're going to find a woman who is following Jesus in the black church. So I would say to black men, and trust me, this is coming from a black Christian male who tried my best to fit in, even, recently, within the past 5 years, in a majority black church, and failed miserably because I'm just about different stuff. I would not suggest that you look for a wife in the black church, black men. What's going on? What's happening? What's happening? I would not suggest that you look for a wife in the black church. So what would I suggest? And it's denomination specific. I'm talking about United, I'm talking about Methodist, I'm talking about Baptist, Pentecostal, Charismatic, Coach, whatever you want to call. I'm saying that if I were 25 years old, 25 to 30 years old, knowing what I know now, going back into the dating market, courting market, I would not choose a woman from a black church, a predominantly black church. That would be a disqualifying marker for me almost immediately, because the theology is such that they train these women to be competitors with men, to not be suitable helpers, to seek government assistance, government power, government whatever it is that you want. You got the Jasmine Crockett's and you got the EBT Queens. To me, they're one and the same. Jasmine Crockett is a high-level EBT queen because she is in Congress, but she's still making her money via the government. So I would never, yeah. Look, M1, you're talking my language now. That's exactly, that's how I met my wife. The next video that I was going to, and that was one of my suggestions, I was going to suggest that you find a woman that you share a similar interest with, a hobby, take a dance class, learn an instrument, things like that. You'll find people that have similar interests as you, that have a desire to improve. It's in a social atmosphere and context. You can get to know that person. My wife and I didn't meet at a church, even though we grew up in churches where we would have been in the same places multiple times over the course of our lives. We never met in church. We met out salsa dancing. And then we found out that we had theological similarities and leanings, but our relationship was forged outside of the church context, because black church context is toxic. It's full of hypocrites, fornicators, it's a toxic environment that is full of left-leaning politics and social justice, and it's not training people to be what the Bible teaches. It's not training women to pursue the Proverbs 31 lifestyle. And so why would you say, if you're a man of integrity, biblical fidelity, you're following the Lord Jesus Christ, you're going to try to find a woman in a context that breeds antichrist behavior? That doesn't make any sense. Run, Forrest, run. Don't do it. You're going to be in a context where they're going to demand that you take on another man's children, or you're not man enough. That's not biblical. You're not man enough to take on some, to take me and my children. Well, what if the man just doesn't want you and your children? What if he can find a woman that doesn't have kids? What's going on, Brother Neo Moses? Yes. Yes, women aren't taught to be wives, right? They really aren't. Yeah. Yeah. So, unfortunately, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. If you're trying to find a woman in a black church, you've got to accept the negative culture, the bad theology, but then you will be held to the standard of biblical manhood. If you don't fulfill your role as Ephesians 5, Christ loving the church, loving your wife as Christ loved the church, then you're going to hear sermons about how you're not fulfilling your role as a man. You're going to have to deal with the feminists that are leading the church through the men who have packed up their testicles and aren't willing to call them out. You're going to have to deal with people being openly hostile to you walking out the faith in a way that is consistent and biblical. So why would you as a black man want to put up with all of that and still be held to a higher standard? Why not just go and find a woman who's following the Lord Jesus Christ that may be outside of the black church? So no, I would not suggest that any young black male who is looking to marry begin his search in the black church. You may find a needle in the haystack. You may be able to snatch one out before she becomes too jaded or tainted. but the chances are very slim that that's going to happen. You're going to have diminishing returns the further and further you get in deeper into the rabbit hole of the black church. If you find one in the choir, well, who hasn't had her, right? If you find one that wants to preach, you got a problem at the outset. If you find one that's just, I'm a PhD, I'm going to get my education, these are not things that men of means are looking to have in a wife. So Proverbs 31 gives you a clear indication as to what the role of a wife is. And pastors in the black church will tell you, well, that's actually not a standard for women to uphold. It's unrealistic. Really? Because it's King Lemuel's mother that's telling him this. It's a woman who's giving that advice. It was just written down into the scriptures. So again, we're telling young women that they don't have to be like Proverbs 31, but young men, you better be everything to that woman, and you better be like Christ. So, I mean, look, man, at certain points you just have to believe that, and I truly believe it, that the black church for the most part has lost its lampstand. It is not what it once was. It's not the cultural center of black thought, of black life in any way, shape, or form that is productive for the black community. It's essentially just religious calisthenics, religious practice without power at this point. It doesn't have the power to shape and change culture anymore, and it's on its last legs, right? It's running on fumes. Some of them may be big and they may be making money, but with all of the problems that we have in America, in black America, and the church can't seem to help to turn the tide in any of these, with any of these pathologies, well, then what use is it? Right? What use is it? I don't know. Y'all tell me. I'm gonna look at some of these comments when I pull into the driveway, and then I'll bid you all good night, and I may come back on tomorrow morning or tomorrow during the day. Yes. All right. But yeah, I would say no. But I would say don't start your search there, because you're not going to find what you're looking for. You're going to have to take, let's say, you're going to have to take a lot of nonsense into your marriage if you marry a woman from the black church, right? Let me take a look at these. Let me take a look at these comments real quick. All right, hold on one second. Let's see what we got. Brother Neo Moses was talking about some stuff. Let me see what you got here. All right, yeah. I speak against the negative culture and I make them mad almost every day, right? I think I'm better off finding black women in other countries that's black, right? Yeah. I know too many black women not American. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Right, you're right, M1. Yeah, it's generally good for, for anyone. The wisdom, yeah, I try to, if it's biblical wisdom, it's good for everybody. All right, let's see. We got real issues of American culture in all of the West. Yeah, we do, Zachary. We have them. And it's just more acute in the black community, because we're the guinea pigs a lot of the time for a lot of these progressive policies, and we take them on, and then we begin to believe them, and then it's harder for us to get out of the it's harder for us to reverse the effects, because we get deeper into it, and then that becomes our culture, and we start to embrace it, and instead of rejecting it and pushing back against it, we just for the most part our community embraces it and doesn't want to change. And so we get stuck with these pathologies, and then the negative influences around us. It's swimming upstream, swimming against the tide, whatever you want to call it. It's harder, right? Because we've got a community around us that doesn't want to change. So, and then if they see you doing something that's outside of the norm, they're quick to crabs in the bucket and want to pull you back down. So, yeah. I'm not writing off all of them. I got one. All I needed was one. I found one. I'm good. I'm trying to help young men that are still trying to find theirs. Get a hobby like dancing. I taught dance for years. It's a great way to meet women. It's a great way to interact with them without it being, and you just don't be a jerk. But if you dance well and you're very respectful, you can meet all types of women from various different backgrounds, and figure out, build a relationship with someone, and then pursue marriage. I mean, that's what I did. Yeah. I don't know. Sure. Moses, send me a list. I'll try to put something together. My schedule. I get very little free time. Panels are hard because panels are hard for me to put together because I don't have time in my schedule with my family and everything going on. I'm not really, I just go live, put a rundown together, and I go live, and it takes me about 20 minutes before I do that 20 minutes before I go live. That's when I'm putting my rundown together and everything. And then it has to be at a specific time during the day because I don't have time any other time to do panels. And I'm not going to be like some people like to do panels late at night. I'm about to go to bed. I want to be asleep by 9 p.m. I get my rest because I'm up at 5 in the morning. So I'm not going to be up all night. I can't do the late night shows. I don't watch them. I get right. I got to stay on schedule. Right. I got to stay on schedule. That's one of the reasons why I stopped doing, a lot of manosphere stuff, because it's late night stuff and all of that. Yeah, man. Ooh. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, but I'll see you all around. I'm about to go in this house and get ready for bed, right? Hang out with my wife. Till next time, be on the alert. Stand firm in the faith.